Loading the quilt is an area where you want to develop technical proficiency. You want to repeat the same steps over and over precisely each and every time you load a quilt to ensure the quilt will be square and flat when you're finished quilting. The first one I want to teach you is the partial float. You will be attaching the top of the quilt first. Take the bottom roller, which is the quilt top roller. Align the center mark on your roller, or your leader rather, with the center mark on the bottom of your quilt top. Then you are going to pin using corsage pins, or you can use T-pins that are placed parallel to the leaders. You want to pin approximately every 5 inches. And you will be working from the center out to the edge of the quilt. Once you reach the edge of the quilt, you are going to come back and place one pin in between the gaps, so that your pins are now toe to head, and they should be approximately 1/4 of an inch in from the edge of the leader. When you reach the center, repeat the process out to the other edge. As you can see, the top is pinned all along from edge to edge, and it is nice and secure. Now you simply fold the quilt top back and let it drape on down to the floor. Next, we're going to start pinning our backing on in the exact same method using the pickup roller and the backing roller. The backing is now pinned onto the machine, and if you notice, it has the wrong side facing up. That's important for you to remember. Once I have the backing on, I want to attach my clamps from either side. The clamps only go onto the backing. They do not attach to the batting, nor do they attach to the quilt top. The purpose of the clamps is to hold the backing smoothly for you and taut, but not tight. You should have some play in the fabric. Otherwise, if it's too tight, you will break needles and have problems with skip stitches. The next thing you want to do is to lay your batting on top of the backing, and you can come down a few inches because you have that extra 4 inches all the way around. This is why you have it, is for pinning on and for room to put your quilt pieces on. And you lay your batting on, and then we are going to stitch a straight line across of basting thread so that we can bring our quilt top up and line it properly. Now we're going to bring the quilt top up and align it with our line of basting. Make sure you match your center pins and just align the quilt to the line of basting, and this should keep it nice and square. With the quilt top aligned to the basting, go ahead and baste the quilt, or use a straight stitch if you wish along the top edge. You can use the edge of your hopping foot as a guide because it is 1/4 inch from the edge of the hopping foot to the needle. And then just come right along and baste this onto the rest of the quilt sandwich. With the quilt top firmly anchored to the quilt sandwich, you want to smooth the top out. I like to use an 8x12 ruler. Hold it at a 45-degree angle, and with gentle pressure, sweep the ruler towards you to take out any wrinkles and make sure that the quilt top is flat. You can also go this way if you like, but I find going this way is probably the most effective. Once you have smoothed your quilt top, you're going to baste along both edges 1/4 of an inch away, and every time you roll your quilt, you will continue to baste the sides before you quilt any further. That's all there is to loading a quilt using the partial float method. The full float method is very similar to the partial float, except you are not going to be attaching your quilt top to the leaders. It stays free. You will go ahead and start by putting on your backing and your batting in the same manner, and then after you've done your line of stitching, you're going to go ahead and line up the top of your quilt just as you did before with the top line of stitching, and then you will go ahead and stitch it, smooth it, stitch down the sides. The difference is that the rest of the quilt top floats free. That is why it's called the full float method, because the entire quilt is now floating free, and you continue to quilt just as you did before. Either method works fine. There's advantages and disadvantages to each. Try them, see what you like, and I wish you much success with your quilting.